Bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Happy 4th of July. We're back. Tuesday. This is Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. It is July 4th, 184 days into the new year. Just 181 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Are you ready? Happy 4th of July. It is Independence Day. We've got a great show lined up. And if you are here with us tonight, spending your 4th of July holiday with us, I can promise you a very enlightening show tonight, full of knowledge, a couple of big reveals. It's going to be really good. Tonight we have a very special guest. Lorcan O'Toole is here. Yes, he is the son, the only child of actor Peter O'Toole. And he is here to talk about his life, enlightenment, his path, the recent events up at ECETI, and a Bigfoot sighting. That's right. Tomorrow night, Barry Littleton is here. And we're going to talk about his total life of contact with E.T. Pretty incredible story that Barry has, and I cannot wait for him to join us tomorrow night. You're really going to enjoy Barry's story and you know how his life has changed. It's going to be incredible. And then Wednesday night, Jason Quitt is back. And we're going to do a full night of ECETI recapping. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to be kind of like that tonight, tomorrow night, through Thursday. I'm sorry. We're also going to have John Rappaport here on Thursday night with his No More Fake Newsroom Live. But, yeah, ECETI. Wow. So a little ECETI tonight, a little ECETI tomorrow, but then we're going to do a full recap with Jason on Thursday night. Okay? So get ready for all of that. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. Follow us there. Hashtag F2B on Twitter is the sandbox. And any questions or comments during the show, use hashtag F2BQ. Okay? Very simple. If you have any email comments that you want to get to me or any questions, just use Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. And there you go. So now, I do want to say that we now have an Instagram account. Okay? Yes. We finally broke down and expanded our social media reach. And if you are an IG or an Instagrammer, okay, just go and find us. It's Fade to Black Radio. Go and follow us on Instagram. And we've got a lot of really cool photos and videos and stuff posted up there. So go and check that out, too, as well. Follow us over on Instagram. Okay, now, a couple of things really quick. I just want to get out of the way because there's so much to cover tonight. But do take the time to subscribe either to our podcast or our membership area. Two different things. Do it both if you want. The podcast is only $2 a month. We have over 680 archived shows there for your listening pleasure. Over 680. Can you believe it? Over 680 archive shows. And you have apps there on for every platform that you need, Apple, Android. And just go to the iTunes store, go to Google, and choose what you need. Just, search Fade to Black, and it'll pop up there. Download the app that you need, and then just head over to Libsyn and get your account. Okay? And that's our podcast. It's there. It's easy. It's fun. And it's updated every single day. Or you can become a member. Now, to become a member, go to JimmyChurchRadio.com. And at the top of the page right there, it says membership. Click on that. And then do what you have, choose your poison. Okay? So you can become a Fader Not for free. You can do month to month. You can go full on Game Changer and get hats and T-shirts. But for all of the Fader Knots, right, all of you, we do a drawing every single month. And so just go and get that ready. Oh, we have a drawing to do. We'll do it this Thursday. We do those on Thursday night. So we'll do that this Thursday for the Get the Tea package that we're giving away this month. But go and become a member, okay? Everything just helps support the show. With that, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday today, 4th of July, to Bill Withers. Yeah, today he is 79 years old. Some of the biggest, best hits in music history: Ain't No Sunshine, Lean on Me, Just the Two of Us. There's a happy song, right? That's what I'm talking about. Bill Withers. I know. Bill Withers today is 79. All right, on this day in history, well, it's the 4th of July, so in 1776, that's right, the United States declares its independence on this day in 1776. In 1976, 200 years later, in the year of our bicentennial, The Clash played their first live gig. And then in 1997, on this day, Pathfinder lands on Mars. There you go, OTD on this day in history. Fader fact, love Fader facts, by the way. For over 1,000 years, a horn has been blown in Ripon, the United Kingdom, right? It could be Ripon, but I think it's Ripon, United Kingdom, every night at 9 p.m. in the four corners of the town square. It is the longest running, unbroken daily ritual in the world. And that is a Fader fact. Who is Bill Withers? Mark Toronto, you're banished. That is a 15-minute timeout from Twitter. Go stand in the corner. 15-minute timeout. Who is Bill Withers? 15-minute timeout. 15-minute timeout. Stand in the corner. Don't get upset. Go stand in the corner. Tonight, very special guest, Lorcan O'Toole is here. And we had the privilege to hang out with Lorcan over this past weekend up at ECETI. Great presentation. And during his presentation, well, aside from other things with Lorcan, but James Gilliland and I sat in the back and listened to the entire, everything that he had to say. Very, very smart guy. And he is our guest tonight. So just sit back, enjoy the conversation, and some of it is going to be really, really, really trippy. And I just can't wait. So Lorcan O'Toole is here. So get ready. And tomorrow night, Barry Littleton's going to be here. We're going to talk about his life of contact with E.T. And then Thursday night, Jason quit. He's back. But we're going to do a full night of ECETI recap. We traveled to ECETI with Jason and sort of traveled back. That's another story. And we're going to do all of that with Jason on Thursday night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live. Okay, there you go. I don't know if we're going to have time for phone calls tonight. We'll see how that lands, and we'll do all of that a little bit later. Now, ECETI. All right. This is where I'm going to start with ECETI. And I did a post earlier. Rita and I have now, we've been back from ECETI for exactly 24 hours and 2 minutes. Okay? 24 hours and 2 minutes. We got back last night at 7:10 p.m. It is now 7:12 p.m. So we've been back for 24 hours, right? And we got up today here in Los Angeles and last night when we got back, we were ready to just turn around and fly back to Portland and drive back to ECETI. But anyway, what we went through this morning, we expected. We knew where we were going, and coming home. We love our town. We love Burbank. We love our family. We missed our kids and our dogs and our family and our house and all of that. So it was good to be back. But there is something about ECETI that is impossible to explain. Those out there that are enlightened, right? And you're open, your mind is open, you're enlightened and you're on that journey, you're on that path, right? And you may think you know what ECETI is all about because you're there, right? You're going down that path. But to be honest with you, and I don't mean this in a harsh way, you don't know. And there's Joshua Tree and there's Sedona and Stonehenge. Pick some magical places out around the world. Go back, Tappy. Pick those out. I get it. But ECETI Ranch, okay, it's just a special place. And we had some pretty... Now, okay, let me say this. ECETI's experiences are individualized. It will come and find you. Okay? It'll come and find you. Whatever it is that you're looking for, it's going to come and find you. And you hear that. Oh, once you arrive there, you hear this over and over again, right? You do. And there's Susie. She just posts. I'll retweet that. There you go, Susie. Cute. Right there. Great conversations with Susie there all weekend. It's going to come and find you. And it came and found me over and over again. Now, what those experiences were, it's too much to go through tonight on the show. I'll do some of it, but then we have tomorrow night, we have Thursday night, and probably over the next couple of weeks. There's just too many to list. But let me share a fun one with you. So we get there, and Ashley up there, she's great, by the way. She takes us through this orientation, right? So we're sitting down, and for everybody that's new up there, she's taking me through the orientation. I think the people that have been to ECETI over and over again, they're listening to the orientation and kind of giggling a little bit. For those of us that haven't been through ECETI yet, right? It was like, man, just get ready. Well, anyway, this is what happens. Ashley says, look, you're probably going to lose something up here, or probably you're gonna lose your car keys. And I was just like, what? And if that happens, don't freak out, don't worry, we have ferries, she says. And and you hear that, what do, right? You just back up and you're like, oh, cute, that's cute. And she says, no, now listen, this is for real. Okay, so all you have to do to get your keys back or whatever you lose, just say, hey, can I please have my stuff back, right? And they will return them to you. And I'm like, okay, cute story. That's funny. Right, that's cool. So the first thing that happens, Karen, that's right, she's listening now, Karen McIntyre. Karen loses everything. She loses her keys. She loses her power cable. She loses this. She loses and all these little things. She's like, man, and she's going through her stuff. I'm watching her going through her purse, going through this, going through that, going back. It's got to, it was really funny. And I'm thinking about Ashley's warning, and Karen and I are sitting there. Karen and I were sitting there alone, and I'm watching Karen go through her purse, practically dump it out. She can't find anything. And okay, all right. So the next day, this isn't my story. This is, I'm going to do mine in just a second. So the next day, Karen goes, Karen gave in and asked for her stuff back. In her tent, a bag shows up, a little bag, in her tent with everything in it. Her keys, her power supply cable, Rita's power supply cable, these things, for the phone, what, in a bag. Now, she was looking everywhere. She didn't put it in a bag, of course. But isn't that strange, right? Now, cute story. It's just a story. And it's coming from Karen, and I love Karen, but it's Karen's story. It's Karen's experience. And it was great. Okay, so then this is what happens to me. Now, everybody in the bunker cam, I want you to take a look. I wear hardware, right? I like my rings, I like my watches, my bracelets, and it was in her bag in the pocket. She didn't find a bag. No. You need to ask Karen, Rita, confirm that, because I believe she said it was in a little bag. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I digress. So look in the bunker cam. See these rings? Okay, watch, bracelets. Okay, this ring right here on my right hand, little spinner ring, right, does not come off. Physically does not, look at me, does not come off. So every night before bed, I take everything off. And when I get to this ring, I've always got to, I got to work it and kind of twist it around and finally pops off, right? But it doesn't, it's physically impossible to take off. So the next day after that, I'm sitting, this was Saturday. I'm sitting and listening to Jason Quitt speak, and sitting next to me is Mark Walsh. And I'm sitting in the back, one of the leather chairs, and doing the thing and doing some meditating and stuff. And this was in the middle of the afternoon. And I split, whatever. And that night, after all is said and done, Rita and I are back at our place getting ready for bed. And I go over, this is after I spoke. I spoke on Saturday night. And I go and I'm taking off all of my hardware, right? Watches and rings. And I go to take off the spinner ring and it's gone. What? And I go to Rita and I show her my hand. She's like, what? There's, we have rings stories, but nonetheless, it was not there. And I was like, wait a minute. So I search all over the hotel room. I'm searching. I go out to the car. I look in the car. I'm looking in my pants. I'm looking everywhere. Had a bag of Doritos. Maybe it fell off. Can't find the ring. Wake up in the morning, and I do the ring search again. Can't find it. And I thought it would maybe pop up. And I'm like, you know what? I've got to give in. I give in. Fairies, please. Give me my stuff back, man. Okay? I acknowledge I'm here. I'm with you. I'm fully with. Please, let me have my ring back. And we take off. 15 minutes later, we're at ECETI. And I walk in to the conference room, and I walk up. I was there to introduce somebody, and I walk up, get coffee, and I'm upset about this ring. And I go up to Lori and Ashley. I think Allison was standing there. There's three of them. And I go up. I said, what's wrong with this picture? And I hold up my hand without the ring, and they look at me. They're like, what? I said, the fairies got my ring. And Lori turns to me and goes, was it a spinner ring? And I said, yeah. She goes, I got it back. Now, I was like, what? And I had just asked for the ring back like 15 minutes before this. And now this is a 78-acre ranch. That ring could have been anywhere. There's a lot of grass, a lot of forest, a lot of fields, a lot of places. It's a big joint. She got it back. And half hour later, she brings me the ring and I put it on. And I showed her, I said, look, and I'm trying to. So then I go outside and I'm telling everybody the story. And as I'm telling everybody the story outside, and we're all laughing about it, Mark Walsh says, that was your ring? Dude, I found it. It was on the floor underneath the chair you were sitting in when you were listening to Jason Quit. Now, what's trippy about that is I'm sitting fully awake, wearing that ring, obviously, when I sat down. And somehow the ring got off of my finger while I was sitting in that chair and dropped on the floor underneath the chair where he found it, underneath the chair. And how does that happen? Now, I'm imagining, now I know how it happened. There were 3 or 4 little fairies as I'm sitting there zoning out, going through a meditation, all pulling on that ring going, shh, don't wake him up. Don't wake him up. Pull it down, pull it down, pull it down. Pull the ring off. Okay, don't wake him up. That's what was happening. They got that ring off my finger. They really did. And so before you think that there are no fairies, man, is that a trip? So now, and that's one of many, many profound experiences that I had up at ESETI. But that one thing, and there were so many things that were just like epiphanies, man, just brightness things that happened over the weekend. And you hear these stories about fairies and just be careful. And yeah, I hope you apologize to the fairies for laughing. You don't want them following you. Yes, I know, right? That's from Goddess Michelle. Yes, it's a trip. So there's a bunch of really special areas there around ESETI. It's a very large place, and you hear these stories from everybody as they walk around, and there's this area and there's that area. And I'm telling, I got up to the audience there to the conference, and I had to share the fairy story. I'm just like, dudes, and they're laughing at me. They're like, yeah, so fairies are real. And I think everybody there was really enjoying the rookie dude from the city, right? Showing up, getting his mind blown at ESETI. Now, okay, we had 5 nights, what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Okay, 4 straight nights of sky watching. Absolutely incredible what we saw. Every night there was something. But Friday night was a mind blower. Friday night, and I'll get to all of those details. Friday night, for about 45 minutes or an hour there at ESETI, it was jumping off. It was rowdy. It was crazy, and everybody just hooping and hollering and yelling and happy and all of that. So I'll give you those details in just a bit over the next few days. It was way too much to even try to compress here. We've got to spread this out over a few days. Just like the experiences went over a few days. There's just way too many things to talk about. But let me share this. So there's a big field there, Skywatcher Field, right? And big field, I don't know, 3-4 acres or something. Big wide open field. You've seen pictures of it. And surrounded by trees. And you've seen it, and James has a chair set up at one end of the field, and you just sit. So anyway, we're there. It's about 11 o'clock on Thursday night, and everybody's out there. There's probably, 50, 100 people out there. And I'm sitting there spacing out, looking across the field, about 11 o'clock. And we've been having our sightings, and everything is cool. But across the field, all the way at the back side, quarter mile away, maybe a little further, there's a break in the pine trees. There's a row of pine trees, but there's like this little dip right there. And I'm spacing out. And in the middle of that dip, this little gray, this is with my naked eye, by the way. This little gray ball, this quarter mile away, comes up out of the trees and curves around to the left and comes back to the right. And it's a gray orb. And it stops at the end of the field. And it's a big gray smudge. A gray or 2D flat like Mario Brothers, right? It's flat. It's 2D. Just like you see in photographs. But this is real. And like I said, I'm guessing 50 feet, but it's gray, it's 2D, and it's a little smudged around the edges, and it lasts for about 5 seconds. And I'm watching it. And I thought to myself, I've got something in my eye, a little floaty in my eye. So I kind of do that. And I go back out to take another, and I'm tripping on it because it's real, but I don't want to say. And then somebody in back of me, and I believe it was this lady, Paula, she says, "Hey, is anybody watching this gray orb?" And I went, "What?" And I turn around and I look at her and I go, "You mean this bleep is real?" There's some laughter, and I hear everybody kind of, down the road. Everybody's also murmuring, "Yeah, that gray orb is, that gray orb, the gray orb." And I sit around in the chair and I look back out across the valley. And I was like, "Welcome to ECETI Church." That was amazing. Again, this wasn't with a camera. This wasn't with night vision. This wasn't with binoculars. This wasn't anything but me with my eyes just looking out by myself across the valley. You have to go and experience it for yourself. What I just said, those two things, my little ring story, my little fairy story, and this gray orb thing across the valley, two events of like a dozen or more things that happened to me over the weekend. And my little thing that went down for me, for everybody else that was in attendance there, they went through their own phases of enlightenment and of craziness and of wonderfulness and of warmth and knowledge. It was just an absolutely incredible weekend. More of that, of ECETI, when we come back. Our guest tonight, Lorcan O'Toole. Yes, he is the son of Peter O'Toole, the actor. Lorcan's a great actor, but that's only a little slice of what's going on in his life. We're going to discuss all of that when we come back. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. ECETI Ranch, happy 4th of July. Buckle up. You're going to enjoy this one. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA. The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Happy 4th of July, everyone, and thank you for spending this special day of the year with us. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, very special guest with us, Lorcan O'Toole. He's an actor, enlightened, and yes, he is the son of actor Peter O'Toole, but that's a very small part of his life. We're going to discuss everything with him and what went on this past weekend. It's going to be cool. Really looking forward to this. And then tomorrow night, Barry Littleton is going to be here. We're going to talk about his life of contact with E.T. Thursday night, Jason Quitt is back with us. All of us spent the weekend together up at ECETI Ranch. And Thursday night, Jason will be here with us, and we're going to do a full night of an ECETI recapping kind of thing. So get ready for that. And John Rappaport will be here with his No More Fake News Room live. But tonight, it's Lorcan. Lorcan O'Toole is a filmmaker, he's a writer, he's a composer, an alchemist, and musician. His father is the late actor Peter O'Toole, and Lorcan also worked as an actor in Hollywood for a spell in films like In Time with Justin Timberlake and the television show Sons of Anarchy. Now, in May 2012, Lorcan began to have profound spiritual awakening of self-realization and also experienced a series of what some people would describe as supernatural experiences, communications, contacts, and connections beyond time and space. He began to go into trances, unfamiliar breathing patterns, and having visions of sacred geometry. He was guided to see a number of well-respected mediums and channelers to find out what was happening to him, and they all independently corroborated that he had made a powerful connection to a future incarnation of his own soul, and that Lorcan is a channeler and a medium. You know, somebody who has the ability to communicate and connect with beings or energies from different time frames, different levels of reality, and different frequencies. These include what are known as spirit guides, angels, higher self-consciousness. Those have had crossed over to the spirit side, and also beings from other star systems, dimensions, and civilizations. His mission is to bring forth the spirit of unity consciousness and remind beings of their own infinite nature and shatter the illusion of limitation and separation. Tonight we're going to go deep. We're going to discuss his path through life, which include the recent events up at ECETI Ranch in Trout Lake, Washington. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Lorcan O'Toole. Lorcan, good evening, man. How you doing?
Good evening to you, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Speaking to you here from the beautiful and magical ESETI Ranch. I have lovely Barry Littleton outside the window right now, and it is glorious and magical as always.
What a time we had up there. And now, before we get started, Lorcan, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. Okay, so let's get that out of the way, which is this. Right. This is just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where we start, where we end, but we're going to end as friends. You ready to go?
I am indeed, sir.
Now, fairies are real, right?
I believe so. I would say I believe would be an inappropriate way to put it. I would say that I know so.
Yeah, and, right.
There's many other people who would actually sort of agree with me. I've come back from Ireland where I was, 6 months ago, and a huge amount of people that I spoke to spoke almost completely confidently that fairies were real.
This is, let me ask you this, because we obviously need to talk about your childhood and what got you here today. But I actually want to start with this. Would your father have ever imagined you being on a radio show talking with a guy like me about fairies?
My father probably never would have imagined it, and I certainly would not have imagined it or expected it, Jimmy. The last thing that I expected was to be on your radio show discussing what we're going to be discussing this evening. He was never necessarily into the esoteric and all of that. He had a difficult experience with religion and faith being brought up in the Catholic Church, which for him created a bit of a block, a bit of a wounding for him in opening up to ideas people have of spirit in connection to other energies, etc. Spirit and God, or what have you want to call it, was all kind of segmented away for him a little bit because of that upbringing. But he did have a good friend of his called Sidney, who he was a very brilliant mind, and he told my father that the secret that he discovered to all of life was consciousness. And my father knew that, and he spoke about it with me. He wasn't exactly sure what that meant, but I knew in his spirit that he believed this, and that somehow consciousness was the key.
And I find that very interesting. So let's actually talk about that a little bit. As you were growing, let's go back to your wee years, right? Maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. Was the household, because you live in your dad was, a great actor, right? So you have the entertainment thing that you guys have to deal with. He's doing his stuff. But what was it like around the house? Was it closed-minded? Was it open-minded? And where were you with all of this?
I can't remember the exact quote, but I believe my father had a quote which was that he's not a big fan of mediocrity, and that he wanted to smooth the smooth sands of mediocrity and live an extraordinary life.
Right.
And being with my father, just his energy alone was an extraordinary magical experience. I think just as much for me as for anybody else who knows him or knew him or has seen his films, that he carried with him a force of nature, an otherness, a difference, a wild quality that for me was immensely inspiring to my imagination, to my heart, to my nervous system. And being with him and having him as my father really gave me a clue or a reference point for what some people describe as the magical.
Okay. Now, your dad had this thing about him that was cool. He did some really good comedy stuff too as well. He did the serious, but to let everybody know that, hey, really honestly, I'm the guy that you'd probably want to hang out and drink with. He's right, and a really cool guy. And that you also have that about yourself too as well. Did you get that from your dad? Were you able to do the cool side of life with him too as well?
Oh, certainly. My father and I bonded over a whiskey and a glass of wine very frequently, and I learned from him also to be very human and to really enjoy the human experience, because no matter where you think you might be from, we're here on Earth It is an earthly experience, and it is a very wonderful experience, and it's beautiful to be a human, whether it's celebrating or creating or dancing or whatever you. But I took from him not just the energies of excitement and extraordinariness, but also just being human and telling the truth and being honest, no matter what it was. Yeah.
Now, I'm just going to ask you something personal for me. This is for me, not for the audience. My favorite movie of your father's is probably his least well-known, which is Club Paradise. Okay? Are you with?
I think he might be laughing in my ear right now while you're saying that.
Are you with me on this? Okay, he had some moments of greatness in that movie that have stuck with me throughout my life, and everything else is great. But that, okay, so that's for me. But for you, when you think of your dad, what was your favorite movie?
I love Club Paradise, to be honest with you, despite it not being maybe a first-rate film. It was still fantastic, and I loved him riding on a horse down the beach with, military outfit on, which is very much like him. But I hesitate to say my favorite anything these days, but I would probably say Lawrence of Arabia.
Right.
Because I have no bias over it. I'm a film buff and film lover. And Lawrence of Arabia is in a class of its own. It can't really be compared to. It's an epic, beautiful, mystical expression from my father to play such a vulnerable, sensitive, and powerful man with all that otherness and that shine of something else in his eyes. It just is a really beautiful symbol for lots of people to live a life that's beyond the means that we thought was available, to expand things, like Lawrence of Arabia. He united people. He brought beings together from different races and all sorts of different things. And he was a unifying influence. And for me, that is one of the most beautiful symbols, and I aspire to do the same myself.
Now, did you find yourself as a child to move away from your dad's fame? I mean, I'm sure that, everybody wanted, your last name is O'Toole, right? So you're stuck, with people coming up to you maybe. Did you separate yourself from that and try to do your own thing?
Well, I never really wanted to be an actor. It didn't occur to me until I was 11 or 12 and I auditioned for a school play, the junior school play at my boarding school, and I recognized that I was actually pretty natural and that there was something there, so I thought, I'll give it a go. But obviously, how do I put this? In England, they're not necessarily, they love casting people who are a bit unknown, who aren't really connected to other families and other things like that. But in Hollywood, they love it, and it's more like they consider it like a royal family. So I didn't try to separate myself from it, but I did recognize while he was alive that I tended not to volunteer the information that he was my father, because I noticed that there were some people that would be interested for maybe shallow kind of reasons and their own purposes, as opposed to genuine interest. And I got a very good radar early on for the kind of people that are after you for something not necessarily in integrity sometimes.
Yeah, I found it so interesting with you this weekend for that very reason. You and I didn't discuss any of that, right, all weekend long. Just hung out with you as Lorcan. And James and I were sitting in the back listening to your presentation, and I just kept thinking to myself, man, he is way out of the closet right now, right? And right?
Yes.
And
the theme of the weekend, Jimmy.
The theme of the weekend. And I just couldn't help myself but to think that your dad, if he would have been sitting there with James, and I would have been very, very proud, because it is not easy, especially in Hollywood, to say the things and take the path that you have chosen. And so I commend you for that. And there you go. So
thank you, Jimmy. And I commend you, and I commend everybody around the world who has the courage to follow their own truth, no matter what that is. And, there are certain things, that we're going to discuss and that you and I both discuss normally with everybody that most people in the world would say, gosh, that's your credibility out the window or your sanity out the window and all these things. And, you can understand those perspectives. But sometimes we all have experiences that are so otherworldly and incredible, but resonate in such authentic, heart-centered way that it's almost like it encourages you to speak your experience,
right,
with no fear.
So let's talk a little bit. Well, I want to stay on the Hollywood path before we get into the enlightening weekend, because we've got way too much to discuss on that end.
Yes.
For you, are you going to go back to Hollywood? Are you going to continue to pursue acting? Certainly, any door that you wanted open for you is still there. Where are you at?
Jimmy, I'm actually no longer an actor, quote unquote. I haven't acted for a number of years. I went over to Hollywood in 2010 from London. I wasn't having the easiest time over in London in terms of work, and I moved out to Los Angeles, and I immediately got plethora of work as far as I was concerned. Sons of Anarchy, Harry's Law with Kathy Bates, film with lovely Justin Timberlake, In Time. And I was doing grand, and I thought, gosh, this is all going off to a more extraordinary place than I thought. And then what happened, and I don't know if this is the right time to speak about it, but I had a massive upheaval in my life. I broke up from a girlfriend, moved into a friend's house that had all these magical symbols all over it, and then the most, incredible series of mystical experiences, contacts, telepathic messages, all sorts. I'll get into it a bit later. Happened, and I got reminded of what my real purpose was on the earth, and it's not acting.
Really?
And
so
I think that acting was a training ground for me in a lot of ways for what I do now.
I have to jump in. That's a pretty extraordinary. We all know every waiter, in Los Angeles is an actor with a screenplay, right? And
yes.
and they would do anything for your position. But for you, it's just like, you know what? There's things in life that are more important than that, and that's not what I'm here for. Most would call you crazy. Are you crazy?
Oh, certainly. No, I wasn't crazy. In fact, I'd never felt more sane, and it's as if I could... There was many things. Now, I don't want to bash Hollywood at all, because I love movies very dearly, and I love a lot of people in the industry, and they're amazing, inspiring, excited, and talented people. I started to notice that a lot of the auditions I was going up for, Jimmy, made me sick to my stomach.
Right.
They were so immersed in violence and shallowness and two-dimensionality in general that I just didn't feel comfortable, and I didn't think I could ever really do anything but acting. I thought that if I hadn't made it, I probably would have broken down in tears and God knows what. But when this awakening experience happened for me, the connections, the feelings, I reconnected to my true self, and also all sorts of different realms and experiences, was so incredible that I realized that I had walked into, and that might be an interesting way to put it, a role that was even more incredible than all of these films I was going up for, and it was real.
How's your family? How's your family with this type of epiphany? Are they okay with it?
They are. You know what? It seems that as time goes on, more and more people on the planet are waking up to new possibilities and openings and understandings. And in the same way as time has gone on, certain members of my family have opened up and started to have their own awakening experiences. And with my mother, for example, at first she was, what's going on with him? But we'd have conversations, and these kind of psychic bits of information would come through for her, such as like she'd been eating cherries that day, and I'd tell her that she'd been eating cherries. And she started to connect the dots and go, oh my God, there's something going on here. So now she calls me Superman. Well, so they're definitely on board.
Sure. And if you have this gift, you found it today. You've always had it. Was there anything that was indicating this as you were growing up? Did you do any of this accidentally when you weren't aware of what was actually going on?
It's a good point, Jimmy, because although I did have a supernova awakening, I will describe it as that, there's many other people who are born, like Barry Littleton, who are born awake.
Right.
And I think on some level I was too. Could you repeat the question again, Jimmy? Sorry.
Did you have any? Were there, as you were growing up, did you have instances of magic,
yes,
of the supernatural?
Yes, I did. And I remember speaking to my father in the garden in London when I was a bit younger. And I remember saying to him, Daddy, I know that I met demons when I was a little boy. Oh. And he looked at me like, oh my God, how do you respond to that? And I think I was referring to some other beings that I had communicated with when I was younger. I also had bits of information, I guess wisdom, I want to call it, that would come through me at certain points to people. My father would take me into his study when he was writing books when I was a wee boy, and he'd ask me questions. And apparently, I don't remember, but I would give him answers that would kind of stupefy him and really kind of help move the piece along. So yeah, it was always going on for me on some level, but in 2012, it quantum leaped. And although we all of us channel, whether we're channeling our personality or, whatever it might be, we all channel. And, I learned to recognize that was my part and to be able to assist other people in opening up to that as well.
And your mother today, with you guys talking about this, have you asked her? Was I trippy as a kid? Right? Did I ever show any signs of this? Because moms are a mom. They know everything about you. What did she say? I knew you were.
Yeah, I can think my mum. I can hear her voice in my head. She'd say yes, he was trippy, but not necessarily because of super dimensional and extra dimensional things happening, but more being a bit of a handful. But she did say something to me when I was growing up. She says, Lorcan, I don't know why, but I know something about you. I know that you have a very big destiny. And she'd always say that to me, and it always resonated with me. Now, so that was a very beautiful thing to hear.
Now, one last question before the break. Were you, before 2012... right, young man. Okay, this is the old guy talking to the young guy. Before 2012, were you finding yourself maybe sometimes going down the wrong path? Were you negative? Were there things about you that are today, since 2000, totally different? Like you look back and you're like, man, I was not cool.
Absolutely. Just like any other human being, especially when I was in London beforehand, I was, definitely making choices that were not necessarily nurturing, and it wasn't in a very good place. In fact, I was in a very black place.
Right.
And what's so beautiful about that is, and I'll speak about it later, but I found and discovered that when being in black places, dark places, is actually the key to finding your own light.
And how far?
Yes, go on.
Well, how far do you have to go before? You know what I mean? Because we can all go dark, right? And we find ourselves there. How dark did you go? Did you go full black?
No, you know what? I didn't go full black. I would say, maybe 98%. But I was definitely very. The life and way I understood things and society and everything to me just seemed to be a real downer in a lot of ways. It's something about society, about the media, about life seemed wrong to me. Not wrong, but just distorted and twisted somehow. And I just wasn't feeling the love in people's hearts and openness and stuff like that. So that definitely caused me to go down a bit of a spiral. But ultimately, in 2012, being in a dark place, because of a difficult and painful breakup from someone that I was still very much in love with, and also in love with me, put me into a space of a lot of darkness. And I'll probably speak after the break, but I found a way to see the darkness and all of the experience in life in a certain manner, which did something to my consciousness and shot me from that dark place into the light one afternoon in a garden that I've never really come back from, in a sense. And I'll expand on that a little bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. And isn't it interesting when things start to open up for you, you realize that the entireness of everything, the entirety of everything is not what it seems. It's not what you were taught. It's not what you were shown in school, your friend. Everything turns out to really be a grand illusion, doesn't it?
so beyond what you thought it was that even people like you and I, Jimmy, who are a little bit, I don't know, more experienced at studying this stuff, even to us, we are going to be shocked about how different things really are than how we have learned in our school books.
And how do you? We've got about 2 minutes before the break. How do you, with your friends that are not on our path, right? How do you approach that? You know, because you need to try to let them know where you are coming from these days, right? But you just can't hit somebody in the forehead with, dude, it's a grand illusion. How do you handle it?
Well, let's say, if you want to know if you're enlightened, go home for Thanksgiving, because you're going to end up hanging out with people who are going to be on very different levels and understandings. And to communicate on the same bandwidth is going to be very difficult. I will say this, Jimmy, is that I have found that there is this New Age movement. And within that movement, there seems to be a lot of people who seem to know it all and know everything and almost kind of bored with the amount that they know. But there's also this group of people who are very curious, who are very open, almost more open than some of those other people, who feel a resonance with this stuff. And to be honest with you, that's what I feel I'm here for, to speak to people who are on the threshold of new awakenings. And for those people, I'm not going to, lay it on heavy, but I know that there's things such as talking about reincarnation, for example. I find this is a wonderful in for lots of people, because people tend to be a lot more open to this concept than a lot of other ones.
Right.
And that can open the doorway for people's hearts to open up to even more, is what I found.
Yeah, I find that very strange. You hit the nail on the head right there. You can talk to just about anybody on this planet about reincarnation, and they're totally cool with it. They'll tell you they were a cat in a past life, right?
Right.
But when you start to go into any other zone, they back off. You're absolutely right. I find that completely strange.
So if I was to say to you that, someone would say I was a cat in the past life, and I was sure, but if I told you that I'm an extraterrestrial in a future life,
that's
people
strange.
Would go, some people might find that extremely bizarre as a concept. However, there's no difference.
Yes, exactly right. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Lorcan O'Toole. Now, we've got his past out of the way. We're going to go straight to 2012. Like he said, he was shot out of a cannon. We'll do all of that next. This is Fade to Black. I'm yours, Jimmy Church. Great week ahead. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Buckle up. It's going to be a good one. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Happy 4th of July, everybody, and thank you for spending your 4th of July with us here on Fade to Black. We just got back from ECETI Ranch up in Washington with James Gilliland and the crew up there, Ashley and Lori and everybody that's up there. Had a great time. And we spent the weekend with Lorcan O'Toole as well. Now, it's a very special place. And we spent Saturday, the conversation Saturday was coming out of the closet. We're all coming out of the closet. Now, before we get to 2012, we're going to do that first. But we have a little bit of breaking news. So we're all coming out of the closet. We're all having wonderful experiences. And we show up, I believe it was Sunday morning after coming out of the closet. And we were walking onto the ranch, Rita and I. And we run into Lorcan, where he immediately says, Jimmy, I saw Bigfoot last night, right? And now, so Lorcan, I just dropped the bomb, right? I kind of gave the close to the story, but I need to warm everybody up to this. This is Lorcan, right? And he hits me with this first thing in the morning, and Rita and I, and we just go and sit down. The birds are still chirping, and we sit down, and you tell us the story. So, Lorcan, let's do it just like that. We're sitting around the campfire, and you hit us with the news. So, tell us what happened. Take us from the very beginning to the end. It's absolutely incredible. Only at ECETI, right?
Only at ECETI Ranch. Well, let me preface, first of all, that I can relate to anybody out there who is skeptical of the idea of Bigfoot. I have had the incredible journey in the last couple of years of filming a documentary series all around the world at all the different energy and vortex points. And I've been interviewing shamans, channelers, indigenous elders, scientists, druids, politicians, all sorts of people on their experiences with the non-physical world in a variety of ways, including the beings known as the Sasquatch or Bigfoot. And I always had a sense for quite some time that there was some truth to it. Not because of hysteria around the world, but because of all of these stories and potential sightings, whether we're creating the idea of the Sasquatch with our imagination or not is besides the point, because they do seem to be happening. So I interviewed a number of people from Nepal, where the legends of the Yeti, to Navajo and Lakota chiefs and wisdom keepers around the United States and many other people in Colorado. And I interviewed them, and they started to give me extremely specific information quite consistently. And the way that they were describing this being or these beings and their abilities, how they exist multidimensionally, certain odors they give off, certain sounds that they make,
Right.
I was listening to it all, and from my perspective, all of the people that I've interviewed so far, I've been blessed to have great authenticity from them. And the amount of authenticity that I felt in my heart center from interviewing these people really started to open my beliefs even further, because I was open to the idea but still had, obviously, doubts. And what I have to stress for a lot of people is the logical, rational mind is not designed, or should we say the software is not completely upgraded enough to comprehend a lot of the different things that we talk about in terms of consciousness, in terms of spirit, in terms of beings that exist beyond time and space. So the rational mind has an almightily difficult time with this kind of information, and what you find is you end up racing in your mind for rational justification to moderate it, to make it normal, such as, I didn't see a Sasquatch, I saw this or I saw that. And what I will say is that I had this experience here on the ranch. Now, everybody on the ranch talks about the Sasquatch almost all the time. I'm not the only person that's seen these beings or heard them around the ranch. I would say I've spoken to 8 or 9 different people who've lived here at different times, and they've had their own experiences. A lot of people find a being knocking on people's windows, sometimes windows as tall as 8 feet or 9 feet, at night time. Consistently, people around the ranch have been experiencing this. And also, there's this profound feeling, which I first picked up, Jimmy, in Colorado, when I was filming there, especially in Estes Park and around the Rocky Mountains. I felt this distinct feeling that I was being watched. And it's unlike any other feeling of being watched, you know, by somebody in a room. It had a quality to it that was very individual, and I felt it a lot. And I think that I even saw something in Colorado as well. But to get down to the story or the actuality or what have you, whatever your perspective on the situation is, from my perspective, I was out in the Field of Dreams, it's called here at the Isetti Ranch, which is where people have nightly visions, not visions, but actual viewings of what we would describe as crafts or ships. And they're looked at through night vision goggles and all sorts of different technologies. And you see these lights, you know, doing synchronized swimming almost, putting on shows, blazing their lights up to really high levels, not what things that planes do, not the kind of movements that planes do. Now, I was sitting out with an older gentleman, another young lady, and we were the last 3 people watching. And we'd been having a wonderful night, and everyone had been seeing tons and tons of different ships. It was lovely energy. And we were looking at this floating, I would describe it as a large orb or craft of some kind, floating around by the bottom of Mount Adams, which is this beautiful mountain that you can just look at from every part of the property here. And there's a lot we could talk about that mountain a little bit later, Jimmy. But we were looking at this orb floating around, not like a sight miscue, like you think that it's moving. This thing was moving from one side of the mountain to the other side very quickly and dancing around all near the trees, like someone was surveying the trees or looking for something, but it wasn't a helicopter. And all of us saw it. And so the older gentleman decided to go to bed, and the young lady said, well, I'm going to go to bed now. And my place is just by a tent. So I said, jokingly and ironically, let me walk you to your tent. I'll be a gentleman, and I will protect you from the Sasquatch. Now, we started walking down the driveway. Now, the driveway here at the ranch is quite long, and it's lined by tall pine trees and other trees. And there's usually lots of cars and tents parked in and around the sides of the driveway. Now, this was 3 o'clock in the morning. 2:30, and I tend to do a lot of my best work and spiritual study round about this time.
Sure.
Because a lot of people are asleep, there's less psychic energy, there's less stress in the air, and a lot of magical things seem to occur at these times, whether it's inspiration or otherwise. So we start walking down this path, and we're walking down, it's very dark, the moon had already pretty much gone behind the trees. And we were walking and we heard an almighty crack and crunch in the forest to the right of us. And because of the atmosphere, and we discussed the magical and all the different realms so much here, that, one of our first instincts or intuitions, I don't know what to call it, was, oh my God, was this a Sasquatch? Now, I'll tell you why. Because the almighty crack, and there was about two of them, a crack and then a crunch, was a very big crack. It wasn't a tree falling over because we investigated the area, but I saw a number of things that could have been the cracking branches. Whatever did it was very big because there are no bears on this property. The bears do not come onto this property. The only other animal is a 26-year-old dog called Jadar that is certainly not going to be making that kind of impact, and no human being either. Even Shaquille O'Neal maybe wouldn't be able to make that kind of cracking noise with trees underfoot.
Right.
So we heard this, and we were like, oh my God, what is going on? We both I heard this crack, and I said I was going to protect her from the Sasquatch, and I ended up grabbing her arm and being a little bit nervous for a moment. And we started to walk on a little bit further, and it was very dark, and we didn't have any flashlights. And this is when it started to happen. In front of us, about 15 feet or so, from that dark area came the following sounds. I'm going to do an impression of it as best I can. It was like this. Woo, woo, woo. And we both stopped very, very still. We went deep into fight or flight in the primate physical limbic body,
right, and
thought, what on earth is this? And my rational mind and hers, and we were both talking. She's a very level-headed lady. She's not a fanatic crazy by any means. And we started discussing, this is not a bear, this is not a human being. We were both looking at each other with this knowingness that there was a being in that darkness there, that whether it was a Sasquatch, I don't know. I feel like it must have been, but I'll go on for this to kind of tie a few things together. So we start backing up, and I say to her, you know what, let's just be courageous, because of what we've heard of these beings, that they're not nasty. They're not animals in the sense that they do not have a consciousness. That they're actually very benevolent and loving beings, and do tend to keep away from human beings because they think that they're not necessarily in the best possible state at the moment. And what happened was we said, let's be courageous. We walked one step forward very slowly and then took another step. And the second that we took the second step, again, from the same place, the same noise. Woo, woo, woo.
Stop telling you, telling you,
because it's something in the dark there. No matter what it is, you're not going to be continuing to walk on, really.
Right.
And so we started stepping back, and here's where it gets very interesting. We started backstepping at probably about 10 or 12 feet, and then round the outside, I could see in the field, there's parked from the trees. In the driveway, there was a big white van, and we could see a little bit in the moonlight, or what was left of the moonlight, reflecting on the field. And I didn't see anything at first, and the girl nudged me and said, do you see that? And I got this sense that I was about to look up and see something that was going to be very arresting for me. So I sort of slowly looked up in almost a state of shock, and what I saw was a silhouette, not just a silhouette, but a form, dark as it may be. I did not see eyes, I did not see mouths, I did not see ears. I saw a very wide, almost like a hood-shaped head, a thick neck, and about 8 foot tall, because I went out to the tree today to measure it, and it's certainly a good foot or two taller than I am at 6'3". And we both saw physically this being, whatever it may be, whether it was a Sasquatch, a Bigfoot, it was not a bear, it was not a human being. No one else was awake on the property because we asked everybody. We saw this being come out around the side, bend down a little bit as if it was being stealthy. We looked at it, clocked it, kind of went into shock, and then what happened next was a lovely young lad who lives on the ranch occasionally called Levi, fantastically, was asleep in the field and came over quite near us, sleepwalking, holding a flashlight. And I went up to him because I thought he was awake, and I realized because his eyes were closed and he started speaking in gibberish that he was sleepwalking. And why was he sleepwalking right near there at that particular point? He came from a completely different direction than what we were seeing.
Right.
And I got the flashlight from him. I was whistling to him, like a bird, but he couldn't hear me at all. Grabbed it, went back. The girl was still standing in the same spot. And I put the flashlight on the area where we perceived the being or whatever it was to be, and nothing was there. And then another light on a tent turned on as if like some bustle or hustle had been going on. And basically, that was pretty much the experience. We both decided that we would go to bed and, and just see what would happen the next day. So I walked back to my room, and I went outside to have a breather and just look at the moon for a second, and I could feel something watching me, as I felt many times on this property. And so I was a little shaky still, Jimmy, I'll be honest, and I locked the door. And I've done that before on this property when I felt this experience of being watched.
Right.
So with all of this, now the next morning, and this is where things start to tie together quite interestingly as well, I went up to lovely Ashley, who runs the place up here, and I spoke to her, and I said to her, this being, I told her the story, and I made the noise, the woo, woo noise, and she looked at me like, yeah, that's the Sasquatch. And she said that the Sasquatch sounds like what's called the rhombus, Jimmy. The rhombus is a Aboriginal communication device that's almost like a wooden spear on a string, and you rotate it around your head, and it makes a kind of sound. And these beings, the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, are purported to have a very similar voice to this. Now, Ashley and many other people corroborated the noise that I'd heard as the standard voice that a lot of other people had witnessed.
Right.
So that was extremely connecting for me because it really tied together this logical kind of, how would she know this sound that I and this other girl heard at that time, unless she'd heard it before or other people had. So all of these dots and these synchronicities, I'm not going to say it's 100%, but the only reason I'm on this program is because it was such a profound experience. There were so many synchronicities that I want to come out and say that there is a good possibility that was what I think it was. Only because I want to be as forthcoming with my experience as possible, because I think that the more people open to these kind of experiences, remove the resistance and tied down, boring kind of programming that we've had with our minds, that a lot of these magical things that really are in existence begin to become visible to us. And being at this ranch, Jimmy, all of us here, and our intentions and our openness and our joy and the information and wisdom flying around,
right,
I believe all of us begin to vibrate on a much higher resonant frequency. And together, collectively, we are uplift that frequency more and more, into which we all can start to have access to bandwidths where many of these beings, whatever you want to call them, fairies, extraterrestrials, angels, Bigfoots, elementals, exist in planes of dimensionality where they exist in. And a lot of people do not see these beings because of the density of their old belief systems.
Yeah, and there was one for the audience. I'm going to describe to them, and maybe you can expand on this a little bit. That morning, as Lorcan is telling us about the experience, first off, Lorcan's eyes were wide open. Dude was awake, right? That morning. He was, this is a life-changing thing. But you demonstrated to us physically the way that he came out from in the back of the van. And now, as I watched you do this, I was thinking primal, maybe even gorilla-like. He was hunched over with his arms down in front of him, maybe trying to duck under the shadows, and from around the front of the van a little bit, maybe trying, a little stealthy-like. But
a wee bit, yeah. What's coming to me quite strongly right now, Jimmy, is it was a haunting mixture, indiscernible in between what you would call gorilla and human.
Yes.
So it was hard to say. It wasn't one or the other, but certainly it felt like it was both.
Yeah, and it wasn't human. It wasn't human is the point. Nobody would walk the way that you demonstrated to us. It was definitely not human, and that I just found that fascinating. I was sitting there watching you do this, and that is exactly what struck me. He was bent over at the waist a little bit with his arms hanging in front of him, and he turned and looked at you.
He was looking in our direction. I think he was having a peek, and I also believe that he was allowing us to see him.
Right.
Call me crazy, and many will, but I believe that the entire thing was an initiation in a way. And I want to talk about that for a second, Jimmy,
Sure.
In terms of extraterrestrial contact, in
Right.
terms of contact with the non-physical world, in terms of contact with Sasquatch, etc., I think it's very important for people to realize that the idea, when you have a physical connection, a physical sighting of a being that you've considered to be fantasy, it shifts your consciousness. And it's almost as if you're facing a fear, because here's this being in the darkness, in the unknown, with all the fear of the unknown. And to have that interaction and to see it, my fears and my doubts, I suppose, dropped significantly, maybe 70% of it, from the experience. And when people have these ideas of contact, it's very important to warm up slowly to these ideas. Now, the reason I say that is the idea of, if you're watching a cartoon, for example, or you're watching a TV show, and you see a 12-foot giant with light blue skin, you'll go, whoa. But the idea of physically seeing a 12-foot giant with light blue skin staring at your eyes in real life is a very, very different sport altogether. And a lot of the people that I know who are contactees have described the idea that ET beings say, we've not appeared to you physically, because if we did, we would destroy your nervous system.
Sure.
It's too much for you to process in your
That's right.
heart, in your nervous system, in your energetic body. So this is the reason that astral experiences of contact are happening for many, many people. They're having dreams where they're meeting ETs. They're having dreams where they met dead relatives, because in some senses it's too much for them to handle in the physical experience. And by having these actual contacts, which many people, a lot more people than they realize, have actually already had, warms us up to be able to have these experiences in the physical plane. So for me, I felt that throughout this process of interviewing people, of studying, of being fascinated, of starting to sense and to feel these beings, and then from my perspective and this other witness that was with me, we both are convinced that it was this being. And, people want to reach for fantasy. They want to reach for amazing things to make themselves happy and all that kind of stuff. But this is not what's going on here.
No, and what's interesting, now check this out. K.M. Hurley just popped up in Twitter with the obvious question. Could it be local teenagers playing a prank? Now, I'm going to address this. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to address this first from my view. First off, Trout Lake is 550 people in the entire town. That's the first thing. The second thing, this ranch is remote. It's separate from Trout Lake. It's 78 acres, fenced in, enclosed. And there aren't teenagers there to play a prank. That's that side of it. The second thing is, it's such a special place, ESETI, there would be no way that any of the enlightened people there would play that kind of joke, and especially on you. It just wouldn't happen. It's not that kind of place mentally.
Well, certainly not. And the only teenager who was on the property came over sleepwalking with a flashlight. So that in itself, put your head around that.
Right.
And to answer your question about was it teenagers, I would love to find a young boy or actor under the age of 25 who had the ability to recreate that bass-filled primal noise that we were both communicated to twice. No, I know acting, I know the tone of people's voice, and I can feel frequencies. This was not a child. This was not a man. This was an animal of some sort, and I'm not going to say animal as in a lower level of consciousness, but it was not a human being. I can say that 100%.
Now, I said to you after the experience, I said to you that you're in rarefied air now, right?
Yeah.
You're a Bigfoot witness, which is a whole nother thing from finding footprints in the ground, right? Or finding hair on a tree. You're a Bigfoot witness. Now, how is
communicatee as well?
Right. How have you changed? How has your paradigm shifted?
Well, I've had many different experiences my whole life, and especially since 2012 onwards, of contact, of telepathic, energetic contact and physical contact with ships, with beings, with all sorts of non-physical energies. The majority of my friends are channelers and mediums and psychics and people who can feel and sense into these realms and don't have a shadow of a doubt of the existence of these things. They have a knowingness about these things. So it's always been there for me. As a possibility. I'm
going to say really quick, we've got a minute before the break. The other unique thing here, and we both talked about this already, Clyde Lewis and his sighting of baby Bigfoot was a mere feet away from where you had your sighting. Now, I don't know if that is because his was at the front door of the guest cabin, right? Which is what you were walking past when this sighting happened.
20 feet from that.
Yeah, 20 feet. What do you do? I mean, there's the whole question of coincidence, right? But I don't find that strange here. Right. Do you think that they are nesting by? I don't even know how to frame that, but there's got to be something to it.
Yeah, Jimmy, this ranch here is, it's called the Isetti Ranch. The entire intention of this ranch is for contact with beings from other realities and dimensions. Because of that, I think that there is an opening, a doorway for contact of all sorts. So it is my belief that this nest, as people describe them, of Sasquatch that live around this property I think it's part of their prerogative to make contact, to open up that possibility, which is why so many people get the knock on their windows, so many people sense them, hear them. I mean a lot of people.
Right.
Just because I've had this experience and I had a witness, I mean everybody else on the ranch, it's sort of like, it's almost like a commonplace here. Yet, it shifted my consciousness profoundly because I had levels of doubt, Jimmy. I had levels of doubt. And what happened for me when I had my awakening at first is that I found this split in me, 50% in doubt, thinking that all the things that were happening to me were fantasy and delusion. They can't be real. And the other 50% was this complete knowingness that all of this was real. How much time do we have left?
Yeah, no, actually, we're going to take a break right here, and we'll pick that up right when we come back. But that's exactly, you need to be in that skeptical frame of mind. You can't go in with both feet first. You've got to maintain that. Our guest tonight, Lorcan O'Toole. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science
and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
So I get out of the shower this morning. I'm looking in the mirror, and not to brag, but my beach body is coming back. I'm not fearing shorts and bathing suits this summer. And thanks to naturesyouth.com, I'm here to help you too. The anti-aging experts, Nature's Youth RSF, they've developed an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports my body to naturally increase HGH levels without synthetic hormones. You see, HGH, or human growth hormone, it's produced by the pituitary gland, and it's essential for growth and regeneration of my cells and tissues. Elevated HGH levels can contribute to not only increasing my energy, improving my libido, and reducing my body fat, but overall improving my exercise capacity. Now, just by watching what I eat, doing a little exercise, and taking my daily dose of Nature's Youth RSF, I'm in a swimsuit, and I'm happy to be there. My beach body is back. I want you to get yours. Join me today and look better and less with help from Nature's Youth. It's easy. Go to naturesyouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com. And bring on the sunshine.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Tomorrow, Ronnie McMullen is going to be here from Ancient Life Oils, and he wanted me to announce tonight to all of you Fadernauts, if you go to ancientlifeoils.com, click on the banner right there. He's got a special going. If you do a mail-in order, instead of ordering off of the net, off of the website, do a mail-in order, you're going to get a special discount. Right? So go and check it out right now over at ancientlifeoils.com. Click on the banner, Jimmy Church Radio. It'll take you straight there. And Ronnie will be with us like he is every month. He'll be with us tomorrow to tell us about all the other exciting news with Ancient Life Oils and, of course, Life Change Tea. Now, our guest tonight is Lorcan O'Toole. He's an actor. Well, was an actor. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Son of actor, yeah, right? Son of actor Peter O'Toole. He's a filmmaker, writer, composer, alchemist, and musician. And in 2012, his life changed. And I want to talk about that now. We all have something, right? And for you, it happened in 2012 right here in Los Angeles, California. Tell us what happened, Lorcan.
All right, absolutely. So in May of 2012, when the Earth was in alignment with a star system known as the Pleiades, I broke up from a girlfriend, difficult breakup, and I went to stay at a friend of mine's place in West Hollywood that was owned by this lovely man called Steve Wolverton, who lived in the back and rented the house to my friend. The house was filled with magical symbols and Buddhist statues and had this magical, small, almost mini rainforest in the back. I can't really describe it better than that. And I started to move in, and then everything you can imagine started shifting for me. I'd be on the phone with friends of mine, and a psychic would get on the phone, who was a friend of mine, and tell me that they had a message for me. Psychics started to come up to me in the street and say that you're one of this amount of people and that you need to do this and all that. People would start passing me books, or I would find books on Pleiadians, on extraterrestrials, on all sorts of different things like that. And people would bring me aside and say all sorts of strange things, like they discovered that they were star seeds, and all manner of things like this happened. There's so many, it's even hard to put into words. And all this happened, and I was also in a very dark place. I was in a lot of pain because of the illusion of the separation, because separation is an illusion, but the pain associated with that illusion can feel very real. And I was still very much in love with this person, and I was in a dark place, and I didn't know what to do with my energy. And I started to discover a few different channelers and mediums who were talking about vibration and energy that I was synchronistically led to. I heard these voices in my head guiding me to these people. I'd never heard of them before, such as Abraham Hicks and a whole bunch of other ones. And I started to meditate and to recognize that I was basically responsible for my own state of being, based on my own belief systems. Now, one afternoon, after I'd done quite a lot of this work and all sorts of these crazy experiences had been happening to me, I was meditating in the back garden, in this magical garden, and it's almost as if I was in this dark place and then had this forgiveness or this understanding of all energy and how there was a perfection in all experiences. And what happened was, it's hard to describe, but it's like my heart went supernova. I felt this incredible amount of light and space and peace, and my eyes were very wide and very magical, and I felt beautiful. I felt had no fear. All this information started to come through me. But then it started to get really, really interesting. I started to feel like I had presences behind my eyes that were not just Lorcan. And it wasn't like they were creepy possession things. It felt very, very loving and very powerful and wise. And I knew that there was more going on than just the idea I had of Lorcan. And I started to, basically, one night, I was sitting on a bed in this house, and I got this very strong feeling to get off the bed and go walk about 10 feet and sit on the floor. And I sat on the floor, and my hands moved together almost into a prayer position, and it felt like it was automatic, like it just happened. And the second I did that, I started to feel this energy. And I started to perceive in my mind's eye and also in front of me, in a sort of quasi-physical form, this blue energetic form. And I couldn't tell whether it was human or male or female. I could make out somewhat of a head or shoulders. And I was saying to myself, what on earth is this? I was completely sober. What's going on? Is this a demon? Why do I feel this sense of love and peace and home, Jimmy? Hauntingly like home.
Right.
And I sat with this being and sort of was in a bit of shock, and I felt like we were presencing each other, feeling each other's energy. And then the crown chakra on this being, and this is what I could see, whether it's my imagination or otherwise, opened up, and all of these lights and codes and sparks and magic light, I don't know how to describe it, flew out the top and then flew down into my crown chakra. I stood up off the floor. I sat down on the bed where my friend was sitting there, and I said, I just had the strangest experience. And I described it, but thought nothing of it, as in, what's going on here? I'm opening up to new abilities. What is this? The next day, Jimmy, a friend of mine was telling me about someone that I hadn't met yet, and I was about to meet. And my hands moved together, and I said, well, about this guy, there's information that I never could have known from Lorcan's experience.
Right.
Or really could have guessed at all. And my friend went white, and I went white, and he was like, how on earth did you know that? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I spoke to a few friends of mine, and they said, look, there's a number of different channelers and mediums that I really, really love. I'm not going to mention their names just this moment, but you should go see this one, and that one. And I went to see them, all of them, and every single one of them who did not know me, I don't think really knew each other either. I certainly didn't have any information on Google. All of them basically said to me, don't worry about past lives right now. We want you to think about future lifetimes, because there is a future incarnation of your own soul. Now, obviously, nothing is linear. There is no real past or future. It's all a simultaneous, parallel experience.
Right.
So all timelines and all lifetimes are all happening now, in the now moment.
Now, let me ask you this really quick, because this is interesting, because this is your first... this is the first time you've dipped your toe in this water, right? And I get it, but for those out there that may not understand how profound this is, at this moment you start to realize that things just aren't what they seem. You've lived a life that doesn't have this in it, but once you first start to experience this, you start to understand that there's a different world out there that I wasn't exposed to before. This is exactly what you're going through, right?
Yes, and it's a reflection of what's happening to the planet as well, because in many cases, a lot of the extraterrestrials, and don't forget, there aren't just negative extraterrestrials, there are positive extraterrestrials. If you're looking at a yin-yang symbol, if you're just staring at the dark, then surely you're missing the holistic picture of the situation.
That's right.
But many beings that are interacting with Earth at the moment are actually future selves of many of the incarnations that are on the planet, and many of these beings have come back to provide information, multidimensional energy and perspectives and wisdom and guidance to the planet Earth, so that we can make a powerful transformation and quantum leap into a new level. Now, this was my first dip into this kind of stuff, but when I realized what was going on, because the synchronicities, the feelings, the confirmations, the fact that all these mediums corroborated it independently, they told me, the names, and that this future lifetime was a parallel reality or time travel expert and scientist that was working on the fabric of space-time and how to change it, was an interplanetary diplomatic ambassador and justice overseer, and has a very profound role. And so having this experience and knowing this and feeling it in my heart, it shifted everything for me, Jimmy. And also simultaneously, I think this is really important, it created a big upheaval in my life, which had already began, but everything that I thought about myself and my life and what I did and who I was began to fall away. Sometimes quite painfully, sometimes very unsettling, with lots of uncertainty. But all of that started to fall away, and this kind of new experience opened up where I felt extremely guided and happy to be of service to people, to help other people with their lives, with their hearts, with their evolutions of spirit. And yes, and that completely shattered my old paradigm. And it's great sometimes, Jimmy, when we have a shock in life, whether it's a car accident or an illness or a death of a loved one or simply bumping your head on a pole. What it can do, it can shock you out of letting your grip on old realities go. And that shock can be the catalyst where you can break free from old patterns and experience something altogether different.
So, Rita and I get back from ESA to get off the plane, we get home, and I immediately, not immediately, but yesterday evening, I see a video. It doesn't matter if you've seen it or not. That's not the point. But I see a video of road rage, right, between this lady on her bike and her daughter and this guy yelling at her from this car, yelling profanities and racial slurs, just offensive stuff. dude's wearing a pink Izod, polo shirt, so that defines a lot of things right there, right? But anyway, he's yelling this stuff out of the car, and we just get back from ECETI, and I just see that negativity in the world, and I just thought to myself, that's a guy that has not had the blast of pink light in his eyeballs, right? That's
indeed
right, because he would never ever do that again. He would think, man, what an a-hole I was, and it's just
absolutely. And one of these things that happens, Jimmy, when you have these shocks is not only does it connect you to new understandings or things that you already knew and let go of old systems, it can also connect you to the truth of who and what we all are, which many people describe as, as spirit, as source energy, as the infinite field of morphogenics and the matrix and holographic realities. But the thing is, this gentleman in the pink T-shirt who gave a lot of grief to those people, when we realize that all energy is connected, Jimmy, that there is no separation between any energy, then we are all connected to that one energy without separation, which means we are all that one energy. So if you're beating someone up or swearing at someone or being cruel to someone, you're always doing this to an aspect of yourself.
That's right.
And whether you're afraid because you're going to be late for work or whatever it is, you're always doing this to yourself. So have a moment and think about how you would like to be treated yourself.
That's exactly right. And you know what else? You know what else is real as anything else? Karma. And you just can't do that to a mother and her child without having the universe just works that way. You said it, yin and yang, black and white, right? Positive, it's the way it works, and you cannot change that. And for him to sit there and laugh in his car, the pink T-shirt had nothing to do with who he was, but that combined with the racial negativity stuff, and the pink T-shirt said exactly who he was, and I really mean that. And so I'm sure that today he's a different person. I really hope that he has changed.
And indeed, Jimmy, but also this thing that you're talking about, coming to somewhere magical like ECETI, and then this experience, a lot of people fear after going to experiences is, oh my God, I've got to go back to reality. And you know that in some of those other zones in the world where people aren't quite as open to their own energy and their own kindness, it can be rough out there. People can be rough as you like, and it can be unsettling. You start to lose faith sometimes in humanity, etc. But I think that we can also have these magical experiences, Jimmy, and bring them out into the rest of the world and touch other people's lives, even this pink-shirted gentleman. If someone could sit him down and say, you did this to yourself. Imagine if it was your own child. He might weep.
Right,
He might, want to go start a school for abused people. Who knows?
I wanted to ask you, this popped up in Twitter a few times as you were talking about your experiences in the yard and channeling. Yes. Up to this point, did you have any ET experiences? Had you ever seen anything strange in the sky, or did everything happen after the May 2012 Enlightenment?
Yes. No, so from my understanding and from not only my own memory, but also what I've been told by a plethora of different guides and beings and channelers that I am very close with, that I do a lot of study from the non-physical worlds, Jimmy. I find it to be a much clearer line than a lot of other people. But to answer the question, from my understanding, I had interactions with star people, let's call them that, when I was very young. But from the age of 13 onwards, I was shifted, not abducted or detained, but shifted, because I had a conscious agreement, into other realities where there are lots of different experiences, breeding programs, all sorts of things going on. And so I have been involved in interacting on unconscious, astral, and conscious levels to a degree for a lot of my incarnation. And before 2012, I saw a large amount of ships. I've seen lots of ships in Joshua Tree. I had a broad daylight sighting with a group of friends of mine in Joshua Tree at 8 o'clock in the morning, a gap in the clouds, a big circular gap right with a big spherical white UFO shining there, hovering right in the middle of the circular gap in the clouds, and a whole plethora of other experiences as well. But again, I think that the openness to these experiences, and the more I started to realize and get confirmed, like I was saying before, like I started off 50% in doubt and 50% in almost total knowingness. And what happened was I had all these synchronicities and consistent experiences, and this confirmed to me over and over again that the doubting voice was not accurate in its assessments. And then I witnessed this, and I have to say the doubting voice has become quieter and quieter and quieter, and now I feel almost as if it's just the knowingness left. I still have my doubts and reservations here and there, but...
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, now, as you communicate this, and you do it so effectively, a lot of it's the great accent, that automatically makes you profound. But as you communicate this to somebody that's listening to you and I right now, and we talk about the universe and the dark and the dark energy that is there, no matter what, if you're being light, how do you try to explain that and do expand on that a little bit, because it may be a little bit confusing, but you explain it really nice.
It was my favorite topic in many ways, Jimmy, so thank you for asking. First of all, we're going to go back to the yin-yang symbol. And I want to talk about reptilians all of a sudden, if that's all right with you, Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Many people focus on this particular subject matter when it comes to ETs. And there's lots of different people who focus on it. Now, this is not to say that they're not real. This is not to say that the dark does not exist. But it seems to be that there is a huge amount of information focus on the dark side of the non-physical world. Now, like I was saying before, if you're looking at the yin-yang symbol, there is a dark side, I'll call it that, even though it's not really, on one side, and a light side on the other side. Within the light is a circle of dark to show that there is darkness within what we call light, and in the light there is a small dot of darkness to show that there is darkness in what we call light. In the middle of the yin-yang symbol is a wavy line that not many people look at, and that is the sacred neutral, what we would call the Trinity, because duality is like light versus dark, Coke versus Pepsi, Republican versus Democrat.
Right.
This divide and conquer, sided, compartmentalized view on things. Now, holistic medicine is opening up to lots of people because they don't compartmentalize things. They open up an entire holistic sight and understanding of a situation. So when it comes to the energy of all of creation, it is one energy. It is an equal energy. There is no energy in creation that is higher or lower in terms of physics. More important has more value. As we say, the king on his throne or the queen on her throne has no more or less value than someone sweeping the streets.
Right.
In India, for example.
Right.
And when you know that and you recognize that the dark aspect of what we would call life and the light aspect both contain in it an energy that is in both. A gray energy, like, Gandalf is coming to me. He falls and he becomes Gandalf the Gray, not Gandalf the White.
That's right.
Almost because he's been through an initiation, that not standing on one side of an argument or a duality is going to bring harmony to you, because you're going to realize that you are the dark, you are the light, you are that which is in between. So why are you going to judge any part of it as being more or less valuable than the other? And the reason I say that is, for example, there's many people who would talk about certain reptilian beings and things like that and concentrate and focus on it. For example, say that there are beings like that. If you have a school, for example, or a community or a ranch, and there are a couple of people on the ranch who are exhibiting, let's say, judgmentally negative traits or cruelty or dominance, you're not going to spend your entire time with the rest of the community having council meetings, talking and thinking and focusing on how bad these people are or the bad things they do. If people started focusing on what these beings are teaching the rest of the community, how they're being of service to the rest of the community, even if it's an example of how not to conduct oneself as a human being, that has value too. And having value and finding value in what people call the dark, whether it's a dark entity or an oppressive system, that oppressive system is still causing people to rise up. So that is a beautiful thing. And this whole division of light versus dark, like in Star Wars, the Jedi versus the Sith, that's a polarity. It's a polarization, like men versus women. Let's just divide ourselves even further. We're all connected to the same energy. And so why wouldn't you look up the whole picture? Look at the benevolent beings, as well as having a grounded and thorough understanding of the dark energies as well. But it's ridiculous how much in the world, there's so many different people and speakers out there who all they do is concentrate on these beings. Now, the reptilians are connected, someone who didn't believe in extraterrestrials would probably think about the reptilian brainstem in the human body that's responsible for the fight or flight mechanism. Do I run or do I fight? With adrenal energy coming out of your adrenal glands, adrenaline, firing all the time. So even when people are talking about these kinds of beings, they start to go into fight or flight. They start to go into an unsafe kind of bandwidth. So I find it interesting and imbalanced that there's such a focus on these particular beings, as opposed to, do you want to talk about the evil guy down the street or this beautiful saintly grandmother that's sitting feeding you a Werther's original?
Well, are you suggesting then, and I don't want anybody to be confused, you're not suggesting that there isn't bad in the world?
Certainly not. Well, first of all, there is no good or bad. That is a subjective point of view judgment. Everything in itself, everything in creation is benevolent. No matter if it has a dark tinge, it's playing a dark role, or it's playing a positive role. There is a balancing game. We all do this, even in humanity. Not all French people are wonderful. Not all American people are bad. Not all, it's not as simple as that. So if you're going to label everybody as being benevolent in, say, Ireland or the United States, that wouldn't be completely, an accurate picture.
Right.
If you were to say they're all negative, that wouldn't be an accurate picture. So I think that it's very important to understand, have distinction and discernment between all these types. But the only reason I'm saying this is there's such a lack of balance between the people, the benevolent beings that people are starting to talk about more and more. And I think it needs to be in balance. But certainly I would say that there's all sorts of flavors of people and beings, just like there were in my school. There were bullies and there were saints. And I don't see how you can say that that's not otherwise.
Well, we have oh, man. You know what? Let's just take the break here now before I go, and because I talk way too much. Lorcan, I talk way too much. Our guest tonight is Lorcan O'Toole. When we come back, we're going to stay right here on the subject, but when we come back, if there's bad out there, if there is a malevolent ET, why are Lorcan and I talking to you right now? We'll be right back. This is Fade to Black. Happy 4th.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Hanging out with us tonight. We thank you for that. And yes, you can hear the rumblings coming from up above the bunker. The fireworks are in full force here. No, we're not in the Middle East. It's Burbank, California. Our guest tonight is Lorcan O'Toole. Yes, filmmaker, writer, composer, alchemist, and musician. We're talking about his life travels and how he got here with us today. This portion of the show is brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Because it's dark, it's complex, and it's smoky. Just go to the River Moon Coffee banner right now over on our site. Use the promo code F2B blend, and you will get 15% off of your order. And let's get back to this conversation, Lorcan, because I think it is profound. But the one thing that I find trippy when I hear the talk about galactic wars and evil and bad versus good, and when it comes to ET, I really think that ET has evolved and is advanced and are probably pure light beings of an intelligence that we cannot understand. You've heard me, talk about this a lot, and certainly. If they had bad intentions, we just wouldn't be here right now. You and I wouldn't be talking right now. We wouldn't be here. And am I just too positive? Do I have too many flowers hanging out of my pocket, or do you think I'm right?
Right, well, there's this wonderful expression that I hear a lot, the Pollyanna expression, which is that all of the other New Age people and the ET people, that they're all just totally lost it. They think that all the ET beings are extremely advanced, kind, superbly intelligent beings. Now, obviously, there's a variety of different things, and it's a very complex situation. For example, there might be a group of beings that may have interacted with humanity a few 100,000 years ago, and some of you may know who I'm talking about. And these group of beings, we will describe them as the Anunnaki, have many different factions and groupings to them. They're not all mean or bad, or they're not all good. It's like there's Democrats, there's Republicans, there's left-wings, there's right-wings. There's different perspectives within all sorts of different groups. There's a total variety of different things. So it's very important to have a more of a neutral understanding of, and not labeling or lumping everything. At the same time, the whole reason that we're having this conversation with each other, that we've had these experiences together, Jimmy, and also that a number of people who are listening right now, the only reason that you're hearing this is because that you've shifted.
That's
because
right.
You're open to new understandings and reality. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having the conversation whatsoever.
That's right. And if there is an influence here, and I mean right now, where we're talking about, the cabal or the Illuminati or the deep state, whoever you want to say that is pushing us always into a darkness every day here on planet Earth, that there is an interaction with ET with them, and there's technology being shared. Now, I want all information to be out. I want everybody to talk about this. And when you hear those types of conversations going on out there, what do you think about that? And do you, through your channeling, do you have any insight on that kind of talk?
What kind of talk again?
A negative influence from ET into the dark powers that are running this planet.
Well, I think that first of all, that the idea that there are powers running this planet is a perspective. Many people talk about, lords or overlords or powers that be. All of that is kind of bleeding into the idea of a situation of domination and control and subjugation. So automatically you're buying into that idea to begin with by discussing having overlords. You're already giving your power away because there is no hierarchy, really. It's all based on an illusion of separation. But many people on the planet have received information that there are influences that are interested in control, are interested in, colonial interests, and there have been massive degrees of manipulation and disinformation and control going on for quite some time. At the same time, in terms of the influences that ET beings have had on Earth, what many people don't know is that many of the animal species, many of the plant species, many of the chemicals, molecules, life, have actually been seeded here from other places. They've actually been brought here, almost like this is a massive experiment, a library, a laboratory, and an animal husbandry situation almost, for many different ET beings. They see us as these beings that are down on this earth, and they've been seeded from lots of different places, and they're evolving, and some of them think that we're just, stupid animals that need to be rounded up and culled. Some of them think of us as their family. Some of them think of us as reflections of them. And there's many different sources. The ones that I have had communication, now I've had communication interaction with all sorts of beings. But I will tell you, the deciding factor in what kind of energies you're interacting with is up to you, up to your state of being. If you want a haunted house experience, if you really get juiced and get your hair blown back by the idea of having a zombie apocalypse, if that really does it for you, then great, create that, have that experience of fear and learn from that. But there's many other different things available, and some people like a haunted house experience. Some people want a very peaceful and harmonious and unified experience, and everybody's entitled to their own experience.
I'll tell you, what's interesting with that, when you're talking about seeding, I try to get everybody instilled with this idea. What is it that we do here? With our own limited, primitive technology that we have, we want to try to figure out a way to get Mars habitable, right? That's in our own little primitive existence. We're trying to figure out how to get an atmosphere on Mars so we can start growing things. And the first chance that we have, Lorcan, the first chance, we're Johnny Appleseed, dude. We're there on Mars, right? Terraforming. Well, why wouldn't ET be doing that with Earth? What makes them any different from the way that we are thinking now with our little primitive ape-like minds, right?
No, absolutely. This is beautiful because I was nervous about speaking. I wasn't nervous. I was advised to go about disseminating the information and transmissions and experiences I've had with ET beings into a different formation. To not necessarily talk about the galactic beings, but more about the reflective nature of reality. Now, what people don't realize is that a lot of the beings that you interact with in your life, you tend to come across people that are reflecting something to you. They're showing something to you, maybe an old wound that you have, or maybe something very beautiful about yourself. And this reflection, it shows you where you're at in a lot of ways. So what I'm trying to communicate to a lot of people on the planet is they think of aliens as these outside beings, aliens, these outside, foreign, different, scary beings. And the fact of the matter is that they're actually reflections of us as humanity, and humanity are also, in many ways, reflections of the ET beings. So if you're in a negative and dark state of mind, and you're thinking about scarcity, lack, limitation, fear, hatred, you're going to be tending to be interacting with reflections of your own energy to show you where you're at. When you're more open and more loving, compassionate, accepting, and understanding with all beings and where they're at in life, you start to get a reflection of that.
That's right.
So it's important for people to take self-responsibility for the interactions that they have in their normal lives, but also with the idea of these beings who, when they seemingly come from outside, we can know that they are reflections of us and that we are reflections of them, as all energy is connected. And for that reason, then people can start to maybe look at where they're at in their own lives, in their own thoughts, first. Because down on the earth we have, wars, we have dividing, separating, conquering, marauding. It's gone on for, since forever. And then all these human beings, mainly because of media and TV programs, are expecting ETBs to come in here and to be marauding, conquesting beings. But that's just a projection. It's already happening here, out your front door,
sure,
even within yourself.
That's right.
And to look outside and project onto all beings and say that they're like this or like that is a reflection of how you see yourself.
Well, could it be, and you've addressed this somewhat, not already on the show, but I've heard you talk about this, could it be a grand representation of ourselves from the future? Could it be us visiting us? And we are looking at the evolved state of where we would be in 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years from the future, coming back here and helping us and guiding us to not make mistakes and make sure that they survive in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And I can say personally, and also from, plethora of other people that I know, a lot of people, that yes, that is happening. And a lot of people are connecting to past lifetimes, future lifetimes. Now, in my own case, I was contacted by a future incarnation who's actually female. And she lives in the year 3084 in the Pleiadian star system on a planet called Era, which is around the star Taygeta. And Messina, which is Messina, is in her 20s, but she's an extremely advanced being. The age doesn't really translate to a human existence. And she is what's known as 11th dimensional, which is pretty high up the frequency bandwidth. And her experience has been described, if I want to connect to her, and this is perfect in what you were just saying, to think of the most extraordinary, incredible version of my life right now. And when I do that, and I connect to this elevated state of bliss, of compassion, of light, of clarity, and sacred neutrality, I will say again, I find it very easy to do a co-creation with Messina, and sometimes she will speak directly through me, sometimes I will relay things that she passes on to me, and there's an aspect of her, a multidimensional aspect of her, in my guidance system all the time. And that is a beautiful reflection of a future incarnation, also female as well. So I've learned to stop being so polarizing again about gender, because when the day turns to night, there is no separation between the day and the night. For other people on the planet, it's still day, or it's just the morning. There is no difference or split in between them. There's just a continuation. So having been able to channel Messina and her energy, which is, it's goddess-like, but it's also very feminine. And it's been very delightful for me and helpful for me, engaging with her energy, channeling her energy, feeling her for what's happening on the planet, because we are moving from an old patriarchal system, and that is not to be derogatory towards male energy. The old patriarchal system is what we've been going through for a while, of warring, of fear, of fixing things, of dominating. Yes.
Continue.
Yes, and that's been going on for a while, and now we're awakening to shift over to almost a different, I'm not going to say regime, but a different energy, a more of a divine feminine energy. Now, that's not to create an imbalance, to say that it's not a perfect balance between male and female anyway, because that has to be the case for all energy. But the divine feminine energy has the hallmarks of compassion, of kindness, of patience, of nurturing, of loving, of listening, of receiving. And this shift that's happening on the planet is a very beautiful one. And it's almost like we're all taking on the eyes and the hearts of Mother Nature herself, seeing ourselves in everything, all as family, all as one, that we can all assist each other and love each other and bring each other up to the highest levels that we can get to. And Messina has been very helpful for me in not polarizing myself or identifying too much as a particular gender. I am a male in this lifetime. I love being a man. However, that's not the whole picture. And there's a lot more going on underneath. So I find it a little bit painful when I'm in situations of segregation, where men and women have to be put on different sides of a rope, etc., for a women's circle or a men's circle. I don't know which one to go to. But I'm a man, and yet this lovely being, Messina, who I love very dearly, and she loves me very dearly, has reminded me that there is no separation between the whole of the energy that I am. And her most important work with beings is not just, changing the fabric of space-time and jumping into different realities and giving teaching announcements, but she reminds people of their true nature, their true infinite nature, as source energy, and that we do not have any limitations or bounds but that which we limit ourselves with, because life is what you believe it can be.
When you first started to have these communications and the realization of the possibility that this may be ET, right, some type of off-planet alien type of existence.
Yeah.
Tell me how you went through that, because you had to question your own sanity at that point, right? It's outrageous. Take me through
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I've described this story to, there's a lot of people more and more who seem to be very open to it, but I remember about a year ago I spoke to a friend of mine who lives in Topanga, and he didn't really know my story, and I told it to him, and he goes, right, so you had a psychotic breakdown.
Right.
And I laughed. I said, well, let's talk about that for a minute.
Right.
And we talked very beautifully for about 5 minutes, and he goes, okay, all right, I can see you're not mentally ill. You're crazy, but I can see that you might not be mentally ill. But the way it seeped in for me was I found out that there was this future incarnation that I'd been connected to. I didn't know that it was an ET being. I didn't know that it was a female. This all came synchronistically over time when I was ready to comprehend it. So I started to learn that, first of all, that the being was connected to time travel. Now, time travel is not really a true thing because there is no past or future. There is only the shifting of your own frequency to match what we would call experiences in the future or the past. And so all that went on, and I started to learn more and more, and I started to feel her voice. And then there's a very dear friend of mine, and I won't mention his name, but he's also a channeler. And I went to a meeting one night, and I asked about my future lifetime, and what happened was a very profound surprise, which I have an amazing recording of, which I put to music, was Messina actually came through and channeled through my friend, who was channeling another future incarnation of his own soul. And my own future lifetime came through my friend to speak to me and humanity and give a very beautiful message. And that was so profound, and I realized that there was more of a feminine voice going on there, and then I asked about it, and I just found that was really delightful. So that was pretty much how it started to come to light.
Yeah, totally. And it just must be amazing. But then there's the other side, certainly with skeptics, and it's an honest thing to say, well, why don't we ever channel somebody that says, you know what, it's all over in 10 years, right?
But we do, Jimmy. We do channel beings that say it's all over in 10 years. There's been people since the 70s, probably even earlier, who had their basements stocked with things, getting ready for the crash and maxing out their credit cards because Nibiru's coming through. But the reason I say this is that we all channel, but many of us channel this information and filter it through our egos, through our rational minds, through our inner child. And when it's filtered through that particular filter, it can be extremely distorted and be tinged with fear. And a lot of the programming that we've picked up on the planet, we come in, I wouldn't say completely pure, but we do come in as source energy, and we pick up frequencies from school bullies, from magazines, from movies, TV programs, radios, and we take that on board and learn it as a programming when it's not the truth, because many of the things that are going on the earth are just absolutely nothing like what's actually really going on. There is no limitation to energy. The 0 point energy has infinite mass, and if it has an infinite mass, then it's an infinite energy. So when we know that, then the whole idea of limitation, or there's not enough, or scarcity, or lack, is ridiculous. And the whole reason that people are having an economic transition on the planet Earth is not just because of seemingly outside manipulators, because that's going on too, for sure. But the reason it's happening collectively is because we have this collective belief in scarcity, in lack, that there isn't enough. And that is manifesting for us in a version that's going to teach us a very beautiful lesson about how we can work all together, come together, and not actually have to use money, but have our own God-given gifts and talents to share and have of service to other people. And that can create a situation of abundance for all people that is beyond anything that we can imagine right now. So, yes.
Is there a danger in that, though? Is there a danger in listening to too much good without being aware? But then you also, if you listen to the negative, for instance, I don't know if you remember this. Yeah, I don't know if you were in L.A., but back in 2008, 2009, right in there was a Christian radio guy that had his own network. And he was broadcasting the end of the world in like 3 months. And he went across the country, a big listenership. And he shows up in Los Angeles with these tour buses, tour buses that were painted with dates and the end of the world is coming. And
this is the rapture, gentlemen.
Yeah. And he caused so many people to sell their homes, right? To stop paying bills, you know what I mean? And obviously it didn't happen. And he looked foolish. And then he went and changed. Well, I got the message wrong. The dates are actually so-and-so. Right? And there's a danger.
Not 2012, it's 2016.
Right, whatever it is. Is there a danger in putting too much faith in either to the dark or to the light or to positive or to negative?
Yes. There is I won't say the word danger, but there is certainly an imbalance. And you can equate the word balance to justice. And in that imbalance, if you're looking, say, for example, you have a lover, and that person is really wonderful, they're really lovely, there's all these amazing things about them, apart from the fact that 10,000 times a day they make you feel like crap by what they say. So if that's happening, then you've got to look at the balance of the situation. Is this really good for you? Even though this might be happening or that might be happening, isn't it better to look at the whole picture and not, stick your head into one side or the other and just convince yourself? Because we do this. We do get into fantasy and levels of idealism that's unhealthy and almost zealot-inspiring. So it's unhealthy to concentrate on the idea of it being just dark. It's very unhealthy to think of it as being just light. But the fact of the matter is that, as I said about this Trinity, there is a balance. There is an energy that's in both the darkness and both in the light. And the dark and the light dance together like a dance to help the integration of the whole picture. And there's so many experiences that we have in life, again, like an accident, like an illness, that can really spur positivity into our life. You have a motorcycle accident, and you're laid up for 6 months, and you get a chance to learn to rest, to take it easy, to not run around like a headless chicken. Or you have an illness, and it happens to you, and it teaches you to love yourself, to look after your body. There's so many different situations like this. A breakup from a girlfriend that can teach you to love yourself. A dead loved one that can teach you to forgive yourself.
Right.
All these experiences have within them an ability to be extremely instructive. So you can look at the dark and the light and see something benevolent in all of it. And that's where my deepest focus really is reminding people of the value in all of it. But yes, it's unhealthy to say it's all positive or it's all negative, of course.
Now, we're at the end here, and I want to thank you for this, but I want you to share with everybody my buddy up there, Ramsey the baby goat. How cool is that baby goat? Is he like the coolest dude like on planet Earth?
Potentially the coolest being on the planet Earth. He may not even be from the planet Earth. He may be from some other system and has come down here to hold space in the goat pen and just be generally amazing. Yes. Isn't it just too much how a little creature, he's 6 weeks old, and how he can affect us as humans. He's just like He's 6 weeks old, and he's smarter than you and I combined. Isn't that just amazing? Certainly. Well, a lot of animals are on different levels of consciousness than human beings. A lot of human beings think animals are kind of, stupid primate animals, and they eat and go to the loo, etc. But the fact is that all the animals and the birds are all waiting for humans to catch up with them, because they are seeing and experiencing everything from pure source consciousness. And we have a lot to learn from the children that we have, and a lot to learn from the animals and from nature, because that is the true instructor. And we've picked up our life pace to a ridiculous burnout degree. And I think if we look at animals and we look at nature, and the slow, beautiful pace of it is a great reminder of how we can go about our lives in a more simple, effective, and effortless way.
Man, your dad is so proud of you right now, my friend. And I want to thank you for everything that you're doing, but also for taking the time tonight. And, of course, I look forward to future shows with you. Just keep changing the world. All right? Don't ever change.
Absolutely, Jimmy. I'm with you and with all of you. Thank you so much. You're a lovely man. It's been grand to meet you, and I look forward to more collaboration and inspiration, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming out of the closet.
Thank you very much indeed, Jimmy, for ushering me out.
Thank you so much, Lorcan. Lorcan O'Toole, everybody. Thank you so much, Lorcan. Wonderful conversation, and go and celebrate the rest of the 4th of July up there at the ranch.
You know I will.
Thank you so much. Lorcan O'Toole, amazing conversation. I knew it was going to be all that. Happy 4th of July, everybody. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to come back. I've got some breaking news. I didn't want to touch upon this with Lorcan. I wanted to share it with you privately. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter, but listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to jimmychurchradio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRAradio.com.
This is KJCR at jimmychurchradio.com.
I'm busy texting, tweeting, having fun. You guys are watching me on the bunker cam. I don't have headphones on. Sitting here hanging out in the chat rooms. What an amazing conversation. Lorcan O'Toole. Amazing. And the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, does it? You know, you can kind of just close your eyes and kick back a little bit. And he's got some Peter in there. It's just so cool. That intelligence coming through, man. It's right there. Thank you so much, Lorcan. And it was that kind of weekend up at ESETI. That's who is walking around there. It's an amazing place. Now, a couple of things. I want to share some stuff with you. Okay, you know what? That opens up the phone lines. I think I've only got one phone line open tonight. I'm not too sure. I had some issues right before showtime tonight, which reared its ugly head right before showtime. But 323-825-5045 is certainly open if you want to call in and just share your 4th of July with us. Happy 4th of July, everybody. You can hear it. The explosions are going on outside. So I hope that you guys are safe, having fun. I hope you cooked. I hope you're drinking and having a good time. But certainly sharing your 4th with us here on the show is very special. So thank you for that. But anyway, so back to ECETI. The phone lines are open, 323-825-5045. You could try 323-275-9695. Those may be working, but there's issues on that side. But, whatever, you can try. ECETI. Okay. So, okay. Well, let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Scott.
Hey, Scott. How are you?
Good. How you doing, John?
Yeah, it was a good show tonight. How are you doing? Happy 4th.
Happy 4th to you, man.
Yeah, great night.
Hey, yeah. So, you I understand you had a great experience over at ECETI.
Many great experiences. It is certainly plural, man. Yes, certainly plural. I mean, I can't even. I'm going to try to go over everything over the next. It's going to take a week or two to go through everything. But I mean, sightings. Yes, of course, the nights were lit up there. There were a couple of, sound healing. We did that. Some Indian things that went down. Of course, my fairies experience. We had Bigfoot.
Yeah, the ring thing. I heard that earlier. That was cool.
That's absolutely real, man. It actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Something like that happens to you because look. We've all seen or heard, or fairies and elves, and you hear the tricksters, and you hear these stories over, and you get there, and you are fully warned in advance that this stuff is going to go down. This is how you deal with it, right? And then it happens because you kind of, it's cute. It's a cute story, but then it goes down, and you're like, dude. Wow. So there you go, man. Fairies are real. I will never. I'm serious. I know it sounds nuts, but that stuff. Stuff is real.
When you're not used to an experience like that, and then when it actually happens to you, it's definitely a mind and an eye opener to new wisdom and a new whole like, whoa, it is,
and it's fun. It was so much fun,
oh yeah.
I got to the point where I was like, okay, pump the brakes on this truck, man. Just pump the brakes. I've way too many enlightening.
Make sure I'm awake.
Yeah. Way too many enlightening things have happened in the last 5. I don't know how much more of this I can handle, but there you go. Okay, so what was your question? You called in.
Well, I have been to ECETI before in the past, and I've been on a spiritual path pretty much from 1991 is when it started for me.
Right.
And so when I was there, I don't want to, ruin anything as far as your experience and what you've been sharing with your audience because I know you mentioned earlier in the show tonight about sharing certain experiences throughout the next couple of days. So my thing was, if I had experienced the same thing you did during the Sky Watch, and what you may have and may not have seen or felt after the ceremony and all that kind of stuff when you guys were out in the field and checking everything out that was going on around Mount Adams.
Well, what did you see?
Nothing was really close down by the mountain. Everything was really high up in the sky, lit up, moving around.
Right.
And the ships were powering up, is what James calls it. I'm sure you heard that.
Oh yeah.
Where it's kind of like it looks like a satellite, kind of like the same stable amount of light, and then all of a sudden it powers up and gets really, really super bright.
Right.
And then when it does that, what I felt was it just felt. I felt it right in my soul, in my chest, and you just felt that heat and that warmth and stuff. And then it just, when it powered back down, it kind of just subsided. And so that's when you knew it was like, contact was imminent.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that happened like that, right? Now, this is what was trippy for me, Scott, is down here in Los Angeles, you can stare at the sky all night long and you don't see the things that happen up at Easton. You just don't see it. Or Joshua Tree, right? Now, a couple of things happened that were so close to us, not high up in the atmosphere. You know, there were some things that were low altitude too, that it's not a light pollution thing, right? Where you can't dismiss it that we don't see it in LA because there's too much light pollution. I can't explain it, but there were two things that happened very close to each other, about 10 minutes apart, that were stupid. And check this out. So we're there, and this right over our heads at 12 o'clock. Now, things were going north to south, right? North to south, north to south. And then this thing happened that it was at a slight angle. It wasn't east-west. It was more like east northeast, east going on a northwest projection, I should say, at an angle, crossing the sky like an X, as opposed to, north, south, east, west, right? This was like with a 45-degree angle cutting through that. Anyway, right over our heads at 12 o'clock, this thing shoots across, and it's hauling. It's going like 10 times faster than everything else, and it's really low. Right, it's low. You could see it. And right as it passed us at 12, and we all looked up because it was there. It was an obvious thing, and it was low. It just fired up, man, bright like a magnesium flare underwater, right? Just right over our heads, and then turned off, and then just kept on this trajectory and just disappeared over the horizon. I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? What did we just see, right? And so that happens, and we're yelling. This was a naked eye. I think this was not a night vision thing. This was a low altitude, just shot over. It didn't make any noise, though. It seems like it should have, right. But anyway, so this was a burn-in-your-retina flare-up right above us. It was so cool. And then, about 10 minutes later, off to the west, you're facing the mountain, right? The mountain is due north, straight ahead of you. So off to the west, at 90-degree angle, right off to the west, I happen to just look over, and I see a new planet in the sky, and it's right there. It's on the horizon, a few degrees up above the horizon. It's below another star, but it's really bright. And as I saw it, Mark Walsh was sitting in front of me. He turns his head. Something catches his eye. And he goes, wow, what is that? And so I was like, okay, that is something strange. And right as everybody turns and looks off to the west, this new star that's out there, this thing does the exact same thing. It flares up like a flare underwater and then takes off due north right across the horizon. Doesn't fly up into the sky, just takes off. And it fades out, and it kind of did it turned to orange and then just took off into the horizon. I'm like, man, that was cool. Now, what does that?
Awesome.
I know you could stand in L.A. all day. I don't know what it is, man. ECETI, and we had a couple of pretty other that night, which was Friday night. Thursday, we saw cool stuff, and there was some stuff around the mountain, and it was all great, and we were having a good time. And I saw the gray orb thing across the valley, and it was just an electric night. And then Friday night rolls around, and for about 45 minutes, it lit up, man. It was this one. Check this out, Scott. And I'll share this with the audience, and then share this with you, and then I'll let you go. But across again at an angle across the sky, it wasn't going due north, but it was south going north at an angle. This thing blinked off and powered up 30 times. 30 times. 30. So it's going across, and we're looking at it. It's not powering up. It's going across. And then all of a sudden it flashes and stops. It flashes and stops. So that's two. Flash, and it's moving across. Flashes and stops. And then I start yelling at it, me being, the loudmouth dude that I am. I'm like, give it to me one more time. Give it to us one more time. Boom, it flashes again. Everybody yells. Give it to us one more time. Flashes again. flashes, and now we're talking back to it. I know this sounds crazy, everybody. I know it sounds nuts, but just listen. And it does this 30 times and then stops and then just continues and disappears off into the stars.
Well, of course, it's totally receptive to what's going on, to what you guys are. They're focused completely on your mind and what's going on in it. So they say, every time you're like, power up, boom. Okay, here you go, boom, 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 and there's your answer.
And you have to, and you have to share that experience. You have to just go and experience it and enjoy it and see it for yourselves. You can listen to the craziness of my voice right now and how insane I sound. I don't care. You weren't there. Don't tell me it was this or that or that. I don't care what it was. I don't. All I know is what we were seeing, and all in this time span of about 45 minutes. Before that, there was nothing. After that, it died down. But that 45-minute period, it was pandemonium in the skies right above our heads. And there you go. Write your own book. You can say whatever you want. I was there with everybody else. It was wonderful, Scott.
I accept everything you say, Jimmy, because I was there one time too and experienced the same similar thing that you did. So I can't deny anything. I can totally. I'm right on the same wavelength with you as what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott, man. And I'm glad you were there because you get it, man. You get it. It's a cool place.
Oh, yeah.
Happy 4th of July, my friend.
Right on, Jimmy. Have a good night, bro.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you, Scott. Great phone call. And, man, I've got breaking news, but I've got phone lines that are lit up. Okay, you know what? I'll just keep this going. Why not? I'll save my breaking news for tomorrow. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Yes, you're live.
Oh, Jimmy, this is Colleen Davis, and I saw you last summer at the Awareness Life Expo, and I can't find any information about it. Are you guys coming back?
I think that, yeah. So
to Sacramento?
I don't know if it's going to be there. You know what? Stay tuned with that. I don't know if it's going to be in Sedona or if they're going to do it in Sacramento or both places. Okay. Yeah, it was a lot of fun up there, though, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it says on your website that you're coming in August 13th to 14th, but there's absolutely nothing on the Internet about it. And then when you click that, it indicates that you're going to be in October in Sedona.
Okay.
But nothing about San Jose.
On my website?
San Jose. On your website, on Fade to Black.
On jimmychurchradio.com, it says that. Well, okay, I didn't know. See? Obviously I'm not in control of my own life. What does that tell you?
But it tells you you're getting too busy.
Yeah, thank you.
You're having too much fun.
Thank you so much for the phone call, Colleen. And I will, I will check on that and see what's going on. I have heard conversations, going on about this, but I just don't know. Right. Okay, and then we also have Mount Shasta in August too, as well. So there you go. All right.
When is that in August?
I think that's August 18th. Again, we'll have everything up on the website as soon as everything is confirmed. But it's coming up very soon because we are now officially in July.
Yes, we are. And I'll watch for it.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Be safe.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You too.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Great conversation. Great phone calls. Happy 4th of July. Who's calling?
Jimmy. It's Suzanne.
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
I am awesome.
What a weekend.
Hey, what a weekend.
Thank you so much. And you and your family and everybody just hanging out all weekend. Just amazing. But the skies were lit up and just profound experiences all weekend. How was it for you now that you're back?
It was a little hard getting back into the swing of things. I was absolutely wiped out when I got home. And then today, volunteering, doing my gig, being all in 3D, physical land, it was a little rough.
Yeah,
a little rough.
Yeah, it is a little rough. And the thing is, because he said he was a first-time experience for you, just like it was for me, but it is everything and so much more than what you have heard, right? I mean,
Oh my God, yeah. So I got to tell you, I also lost my phone.
Really?
The last night, 2:00 in the morning. I was sitting in the chair. Karen was next to me. Aaron was next to me. My phone had been in my lap. Karen left. Aaron and I went, you know what? Mosquitoes are starting to bite us. Let's go. My phone had been in my lap, right next to me.
Right.
Get the blankets together. I'm starting to look for stuff. The moon had gone down. It's pitch black. I can't find my phone. I'm looking everywhere. I'm like, okay, the phone has a flashlight. If I had a flashlight, maybe I could find it, but can't find the phone. Okay, wait a minute. I got a lighter. Let's get the lighter out. We're looking. Aaron and I are looking. Nothing. Aaron walks to the end of the chairs, about 10 feet away, and goes, found it. I'm like, how the hell did it get over there?
Did you ask? Did you ask the fairies to return it?
Aaron did. Aaron said, okay, enough of this, fairies. Please bring back the phone. We need the phone, okay? And sure enough, he walks over there and looks down, gets a light, a light off of his stuff, and there it is. I'm like, well, how the hell did it get over there? I mean, we shook out blankets. We're looking around. Nothing. Yeah, the fairies got it. Absolutely. I believe.
I know, right? I know it sounds crazy, everybody, but you need to understand. You've got to go through the experience. You have to, because with the warnings that Ashley gave everybody, right, at the orientation there, you just kind of grin. Like I said, it's cute, right? It's cute. All right, okay, all right.
Right. Oh yeah, sure. Right. Fairies, right. And the Sasquatch thing. Aaron was on the fence about Sasquatch, right?
Oh, you guys heard one? Yeah,
maybe, but. I think it was Saturday night. Neither of us could sleep. I finally, at 3:30 in the morning, gave it up. I go out of the motorhome. Aaron peeks out from the overcab bed and goes, can't sleep either, huh? I said, no, let's grab some blankets and some pillows and let's get under the stars and just, hang out there. We can't sleep anyway.
Right.
So we're out there. We're yakking away and, kind of looking around at stars, but, really more yakking. And then we hear this sound. We're like, should we be out here by ourselves in the dark? Nobody is awake. It's 4:00 in the morning by this time or something like that. And we hear that sound, the exact same sound that Lorcan gave us. We're like,
yeah, I know.
What's up with that?
I know. And
we were not brave enough to go out looking for it.
Well, next time around that we go to ECETI, and it's going to be very soon. I think we're going to be up there, next month or 6 weeks from now. We have to go back, but this time around we're going to be staying on site. I want to experience the energy that happens there when you sleep.
Yeah.
That is
when the lights go down.
Absolutely, it's got to be
now
totally
I
magical.
did see something else. After everybody went to bed, there was only 5 or 6 of us up. So where we were sitting, there's the mountain, dead ahead, 12 o'clock.
Right.
Over to the right were these 2 tall trees, right?
Right.
So everybody's looking at the mountain at the lights, and for whatever reason, I'm looking right in between the mountain and these trees. And right in the middle of that appears this light at the height of the mountain, which is like almost 13,000 feet.
Right.
Just appears and goes down to the ground, kind of on a little bit of an angle, and down to the ground. I'm like, holy crap, did anybody else see that? And everybody goes, no. And, Karen and Aaron were like, no, I didn't see it. And this other gal goes, did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I saw that. And then a little while later, I'm looking at the mountain, and Karen and Aaron go, on the left side or the right side of the mountain, totally on the other side of the mountain, see the very same thing. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I heard the same thing the next day from a few different people away from you, right? That saw the same thing and said that they felt that it was coming down and scanning Actually, Lorcan actually just mentioned it, too, right now, that he felt that it was coming down from the mountain to scan the trees, but it wasn't, like a helicopter would, but it wasn't a helicopter. And I find that totally fascinating.
Well, this came vertically from even with the height of the mountain,
right?
Vertically downward, slight 5-degree angle, and just came down.
Right.
And not like a meteor. I've seen meteors before. It was slower than that.
Right.
And then disappeared behind some trees and hills. It was not on the mountain itself. It was off to the side of the mountain. I just was like, okay, what did I just see there?
I know, it's such a magical place. And Susie, give my best to Aaron and Frankie Four Fingers, okay? Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your 4th. I'll talk to you.
All right.
Good night.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, absolutely. Good night. So now, and thank you for that, Susie. Great family. Hung out with them all weekend. I'm going to say this really quick in closing. Yes, I mentioned some breaking news. So we're assembling everything now. We're going to do the press release tomorrow and get this video out. There has been talk over the years with James and Mount Adams. We've all seen the video. It's spectacular. But he has always talked about an opening on Mount Adams. Now, the opening in the cave system and the openings that he has been talking about has been on the east side, about halfway up on the mountain. The mountain is 13,000 feet. Now, I'm going to say this. Susie's husband, who just called in, and I'll reveal his name and everything else tomorrow. I don't want to do it right now on the show. I'm going to do a massive release on this tomorrow. An opening happened, and we got it on film. We shot it for 3 straight days. It's incredible what it is, where it is on the mountain, or anything like that. We will disclose everything tomorrow. The reason why I'm not going further with it right now is because we have all the goods. We have all the video. We have the photographs. We have the before. We have the after. We shot the mountain for 4 straight days, all day long. And the things that we have put together are going to be shocking. It's going to be a lot for everybody to absorb and to understand, but it is big, it is real, and it's fantastic. So we will do all of that tomorrow, okay? Just get ready for this. Now, I know how the media is going to treat this. I already know what is about to happen, but I don't care. And for everybody that was with us up there at ECETI this weekend, that witnessed everything, and trust me, all eyes, all binoculars, all cameras, everything was focused on this mountain all weekend, and we went through all of this together. So for all of them, I am going to do this tomorrow. It is for all of us, the family that was there. It was extraordinary, but what was wonderful is that we did it all together. So get ready for this presentation. We will have it together in time for tomorrow night's show when we bring on Barry Littleton, who was also a witness to the events, and we're going to bust it out. So get ready. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow night, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Want to thank the one and only Lorcan O'Toole for bringing it like he did tonight. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale, Webmaster Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I want to say hi right now to Bill Skywatcher Forte. wearing that shirt. Until tomorrow night, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.